What's up, everybody? Welcome back to RBL Weekly. It is week 17 of the season, the unofficial halfway point of the 2024 campaign. I am the commissioner of the Roast Battle League, Pat Barker, joined as always by the host and creator of the Roast Battle, rocking the old school Roast Battle Tokyo merch, Brian Moses.
It's bootleg. You can't get this anywhere.
Nah.
Yeah, you got to hit me up on like Signal or one of those, or Telegraph or whatever that thing is. That's how you get this shit.
Yeah, or hang out at a Goodwill in Osaka.
Yeah, or
might be a couple in there.
If you can resurrect Boon Shakalaka.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
People out there, they don't know, man. That's the problem with growing and getting this new worldwide audience with the RBL is there are people who are like, what is Boon Shakalaka? We don't have enough time. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in my life to properly explain.
Go to the Roast Battle channel, type in Roast Battle short film, and you'll be able to see some Boon Shakalaka clips. Rest in Prices, Boon Shakalaka. He was our resident bootleg man, and he would bring. We wouldn't know where it was from.
Oh yeah,
a shopping cart might still have the price tag on it, but I've definitely got pajamas.
Yeah,
merch that I think we had at one point. He was selling.
Oh, he would sell you your own shit back for sure. Yeah,
he was great.
There's no doubt. It was like
they were great. I don't even know at one point Boone kind of like revolutionized the transgender movement.
Boone was ahead of the game, even for LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even for a show we did in West Hollywood, it was like, wow, this is a lot.
Yeah. There was his legend is crazy. I know people want to talk about Autistic Thunder and our new hater Sushi Boy Mexico, but man, that Boon Shakalaka era, if you knew the legend of this person, started out in the 70s or the 60s as a pimp.
Really?
Yeah, was a pimp, and
No
then
shit.
I think lost his mind a little bit due to drugs, maybe.
Yeah, that part I believe that.
And then went homosexual. Or like came out of the closet, I guess, from whoever he was, and then became transgender and became didn't want to be called a woman. I think like with this new non-binary, I say new. I'm sorry if it's not new, but with the big presence that non-binary is showing, I think Boone would have been like the poster child.
Oh yeah, he would have been in his element right now.
Yeah, everybody's just like, what is this? Turn this off.
Yeah.
Get to the battles.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. If you're a big RBL fan and you're like, we don't care about your non-binary friend who is dead. First of all, rude. But second of all, we got you covered. Let's what did I just knock? Oh, I knocked the Sunset Media thing. Shout out to Sunset Media. I slapped this thing right off the microphone. Let's get into some official RBL business. Before we look into the battles this week, this is exciting to me. We are on the precipice of our first ever RBL All-Star Game. July 21st at the Comedy Mothership, 8 o'clock. Tickets are still on sale, which is crazy. They usually go very fast. We're doing 2 shows that night, which spread them out a little bit. If you're in Austin, Texas, 5 o'clock is going to be all Austin people. 8 o'clock is going to be the RBL All-Star Game. And I want to take a look at the flyer that we have here. Someone mocked up a quick flyer for me so we could at least get something on the screen here, take a look at some of the matchups and break down some of the names.
Yeah, look at that.
Get into this. So this is for the first ever All-Star Game. It is being headlined by, in my opinion, the top 2 candidates right now for the MVP. I know we've discussed this a lot. Heather Keith representing
1A,
Austin,
1B,
representing the Western Conference, won the Netflix is a Joke tournament, 5-0 this season, going up against Max Sorich, who has put all these points on the board for Chicago. That's the headline battle. We got 4 more before we get down the list. What do you think about this as the headliner?
Is Sorich also a rookie?
Sorich is not a rookie.
Ooh, he's got rookie vibes.
Sorich had some pretty decent numbers last year. His career numbers are, we keep track of all that. He's coming up.
All right, so he's not a rook. All right, I mean, he's really making a name. Like, definitely most improved player this year.
If we had a most improved award, I feel like that would be a walk.
It's Sorich. Yeah, this is huge. I know you sent me the list a little bit ago, and I was so excited about this. This flyer, though, looks like a classic, like late 2000s comedy flyer, though.
Well, the one thing, I sent one note on it. I like the flyer. I just, my thing is, you could see the left side of the flyer is like kind of labeled as West Coast, and then the right side is East Coast, and then we kind of have the matchups all over the place.
It looks like a missing persons flyer. Yeah. I mean, it really does.
Nothing wrong with that.
Have you seen Nate Welch? Have you seen Andrew Manning? Oh, my gosh.
It doesn't help that some of these guys have not updated their headshots in 9 years.
You guys need to be professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting headshots from comedians is honestly the toughest part about the commissioner gig a lot of times.
All right, so obviously the big main event, right? If we're doing UFC, it's going to be Sorich and Heather Keith.
Correct.
Real big. That Nate and Andrew one though, big pun versus probably one of the best writers in the whole competition, Andrew Manning. That one's big.
Yeah.
That's East Coast West Coast classics. That's LA versus New York. Man, I would love, because Nate's in his bag right now. Nate's in his prime. I feel like when it comes to this big wordplay and pun thing, and he really knows how to do it. But Andrew Manning can really pick somebody apart.
Yeah.
Like the John Ajodas, the Malia Simons of the world.
He's a brilliant writer. Undefeated in RBL, 3-0 last season, 4-0 this year, 7-0 career record. I mean, yeah, the guy just does not lose. And he's coming back to the mothership after just being out there the last time and putting on the performance of the night. Very rarely do we invite people back that close together, but I was like, I had to hit him up and be like, you're on top of the New York mountain right now. Like, I got to invite you. And he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. They do look like two different types of white supremacists, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a roast battle thing in general. Most of the people on this flyer do look like, if this was like the January 6th All-Star game, the flyer wouldn't be much different. I mean,
yeah, everybody's got like a mullet or a shaved head or glasses and a goatee. Yeah. Like Andrew looks like a keyboard warrior when it comes to like on 4chan.
For sure.
And then Nate just looks like a classic skinhead.
And then Deeptanshu Jha even looks like he could have been there.
An Indian Nazi.
Yeah.
One of those Indian Nazis.
Serious vibes like that. But just to run through some of the matchups, to me, Heather Keith, Max Sorich, 1 and 2 for the MVP. This could go a long way to determining who was the front runner for that award. Nate Welch, the LA champion. Andrew Manning, undefeated career in RBL play. Deeptanshu Jha won the California Cup. 9-1 career against Eric Asker, who's having an incredible season.
That's a joke writer showcase.
It is.
Deep versus Eric is a joke writer showcase. If you like jokes, that's going to be a slobber knocker.
And then this one, this is my dark horse. I don't think there's a lot of potential for an upset in any of these battles because they're so evenly matched. This is the one that feels a little bit disproportionate because every city is going to have a representative. Shelley Gruenberg out of Atlanta, who had their first RBL ranked battle last week. She's 4-0. She's the Atlanta representative, but nobody's seen a lot of her. And she's going against the guy that we've seen more of this season than any other battler. He's been on the podcast 5 times, John Luna. He's 3-3, but he's put up all these points. Shelley Gruenberg, 4-0, undefeated. I think there's going to be a lot of people being like, oh, obviously Atlanta's got, no shot in this thing. I remember last year when Denver was our weakest team and everybody they sent to the mothership crushed. So all I'm saying is do not sleep on one individual battler based on their city. I really think that Shelley Gruenberg could go in there and maybe steal the show a little bit in that battle.
Yeah, you were saying disproportionate. I was like, why? Because John's in the battle? I mean, that's like, it's a weight class thing, really, with Shelley and him. Here's what I remember I even texted you this earlier. I was like, I feel like with Tabitha and Shelley, they beat Jeff and John. Now, I know Jeff is now the new Denver champion, and John is leading in points this season, or right behind Max Sorich. So you would think, obviously, on paper, those guys should win, but ladies are the best at this demographically. And I just kind of think that when it comes to a neutral site, they just always win.
Wow. I wasn't even going to make you pick individual matchups. I was going to ask for like who do you got overall, West, East?
I'm going in.
All right. I love it. And then let's talk about this. If the top battle on this flyer is the front runner for MVP, the last battle in the bottom right is the front runner for Rookie of the Year. These guys are both rookies. Tabitha Jones, 5-0 this season, tied with Heather Keith. They're the only 5-0s in the entire league. Jeff Stonick, 5-1. He just won the Denver tournament. Those guys are both technically rookies. They are going to be, in my opinion, right now, they're 1-2 for that. So go ahead. If you feel comfortable making these predictions, I was going to let you off the hook, but if you want to go for it, go for it.
Max and Heather is a tough one. Heather has battled somebody like Max before in Colin O'Meara, so she's got some experience with a guy like that. Max also has battled people with Heather's body type, recently even with Tabitha Jones.
Yep.
So they both have experience battling the same phenotype. I would say, I don't know. I'm going to leave that one alone, actually. That Andrew and Nate one, I'm going to leave alone also because, I've got some skin in the game there. That's my boy Nate, and I really like Drew Manning. I'm a big fan, actually, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Deep and Eric, man. I mean, they're almost mirror images of each other. same glasses, different skin type, different ethnicities, different language. I can't even pick, but I'll pick those bottom two. I'm gonna go Shelly and Tabitha.
You're like, I'm going in. I'm ready to prognosticate. And you're like, well, not that one. Not that one.
I Stephen A. Smith did. I didn't actually pick anybody, but I'm picking Shelly and Tabitha.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So you got East Coast starting off strong, and then who knows? West might have some digging back to do. Either way, it's going to be an incredible show. These are some of the best battlers of the season. 6 undefeated people on this flyer. There's a couple of like reigning champions in their cities. The front runners for MVP, the front runners for Rookie of the Year, the people putting up the most points. It's going to be great. July 21st, if you're at the mothership. If you're in Austin, come out to the mothership. Check that out. And I'm excited for that show. I'm excited for this week of battles because I have not seen these. I just got back from Las Vegas where future Hall of Famer Jay Light was having his bachelor party ahead of his wedding. We had a great time. I did not have a chance to watch all these battles. The ranking committee banged these out for me. I've yet to see them. Shout out to Mark Coulter, Hall of Fame level member on the Patreon, who joined the ranking committee this week. And by the way, his number one pick for the battle ended up being the most popular number one pick amongst the experts.
Okay.
So, great job, Mark. Thank you for joining us and doing that. If you want to rank the battles with us one week, hop onto that Hall of Flame tier and check your DMs. Watch out for a DM and jump in there. Also, on the Patreon, we're getting ready to schedule our first head-to-head Zoom battles.
Let's go.
From members who maybe want to battle and are not near a Roast Battle League City. If you want to do that, we're going to get some celebrity judges. We're going to do it on Zoom or Google Meet. It's going to be ridiculous. I know Digits is in there. He's like, I'll battle a fan on Zoom. I love that guy. So if you want to be racist towards Mexicans, have I got a spot for you? Join the Patreon. That first one is open to all tiers. So any paid tier on the Patreon, you can jump in on that card. Without further ado, what do you say we get into some battles this week?
Let's go.
Let's get into it. Number 7, we start with a city we have not seen a whole lot of this year. In 17 weeks, this is only their 3rd appearance, but they've made some progress recently. If you're on the Patreon, you've seen they've been in a couple of those 8, 9, and 10 battles, which we've been uploading there. This week, they cracked the top 7. I'm talking about Australia.
Wow.
This is from one of their recent events in Sydney. This is 2 guys that I've never seen before. I'm excited to see it. It is Sammer versus Rory Kiley. Here it is.
I want to thank Rory for taking a break from bringing a bowling ball to be here tonight. Rory's a high school teacher at a difficult school. He told me one of his students was being so annoying, he stopped having sex with her.
I know Samar is the friendly Iraqi with the English accent, but the ISIS recruiters in London know him as the one that got away.
Rory looks like he averages 2 thoughts a week. I'll leave it there.
Sam is so Arab, his pronouns are she, Shah.
Rory, more like surely, he touches kids.
Oh yeah!
No, but Rory's a dickhead. No, sorry. Rory's head looks like a dick.
Damn it. Sam is a devout Muslim. He doesn't believe in sex before marriage. You know, he's so devout he even puts a hijab on his blow-up doll.
Rory's Irish, and his last relationship was with an Asian woman. They broke up because she kept saying, I wish I could kill myself.
When Sama was growing up, his favourite show was Sama's in Pyjamas.
Outstanding.
Rory also loves surfing, the internet for child porn.
Finish him.
Rory, more like single and pushing 40. I'll leave it there. That's it,
good.
thank you.
Yeah, Islamic martyrs, they receive 72 virgins when they die, but once he passed away, they'll receive 73.
So that was number 7 this week from Australia, Sammer versus Rory Kiley. As always, if you're new to the podcast, we do not watch 7, 6, and 5 here in the studio. We'll pick it up for the top 4 battles. Another point for Australia as they slowly try to climb their way out of the hole. 4 points at the midway point of the season. Not great, but they're in maybe the division where you have a couple good weeks in a row, you're kind of right back in it. The International East. So they might have a shot.
International East.
At this point, yes. But there's got to be a best in the International East, and they are up now. I'm talking about Manchester. To this point, the expansion city that has exceeded all expectations and managed to lead that International East division. We all thought it was going to be London, maybe Tokyo, playing dark horse, and yet it is Manchester at the midway point of the season that leads the division. They pick up the 2 more points today for the number 6 battle. It is the guy one of the guys who runs Roast Battle Manchester, Jordan Ducharme. We've seen him 3 times on this podcast now, going up against Danny Davies. Here it is.
Danny touts himself as a former child actor, but no one told him it doesn't count if you only starred in your uncle's secret homemade movies. Yeah. Creeps from the UK fly to Thailand to fuck ladyboys. Creeps from Thailand fly to Liverpool to fuck Danny Davies.
Jordan Ducharme is a self-proclaimed alcoholic. He says that he drinks to be funny. He must be thirsty. Thanks. He's a massive pro wrestling fan. Loves the WWE, which, now as hard as it may be to believe, isn't the gayest thing about him. He also loves IPA, and he is from Canada.
All right. Danny Davies is obviously a Scouser. He's a big UFC fan, a little less Patty the Batty, a little more Danny the Fanny. He loves shadow boxing as well, which makes sense because he lives in the shadow of the Liverpool comedy scene.
In spite of recent comments, Jordan is in fact one of my favourite people on the comedy circuit. And I know I'm not one to talk about haircuts, or in this case between the two of us, lack thereof. I forgot what I was up to. There it is, but for that matter, Jordan looks like he had a hair transplant, but they took the hair from multiple finds of roadkill. His chest, on the other hand, looks like the hairline of somebody 3 appointments into a series of chemotherapy.
Is that it?
It is.
Danny's got the same body type as a bulimic African child. But we all know the only thing African about Danny is the AIDS. Danny uses a condom every time he has sex, not because he prefers it that way, but because if he doesn't, it's a sex crime.
Speaking to Jordan recently, we got talking about Hollywood and the world's elites, and he said he hates Hollywood. He hates everything Hollywood stands for. He said he'd never, ever, ever work for Hollywood. That was the most degrading thing anyone has ever done to me. He said he'd never work for Hollywood. He said he hates everything Hollywood stands for. All the employers, perverts, drug addicts, paedophiles, Satanists. And Jordan is not a drug addict.
Danny lost his virginity at 18. He says it might be a pity fuck, but we all know women can't feel pity when they're unconscious. He told me his most embarrassing moment was banging his bird from behind and getting shit all over himself. Judging from how he smells, I assume that was a few hours ago. The really embarrassing part he didn't say about that is his bird is nicknamed for his podcast co-host, Gary Hyland.
Jordan's trans. There's nothing funny about trans people. But Jordan is trans. Not in your traditional, male to female, female to male way. He's actually quite a medical marvel, would you believe? He's quite a standout in the trans community. It is actually only his penis that is trans. Because it transitions from flaccid to fully erect whenever in the presence of an underage woman.
Danny recently had a massive theater gig pulled from him when he tweeted an offensive joke about children that died in a house fire. True story. How ironic is it that his career would go up in flames just like those dumb, stupid kids?
Now listen, I know it's easy for me to come here and call Jordan a paedophile. Down to the way he looks, the way he dresses, even just the way he presents himself sickens me, to be honest. But if all of that, his appearance and his fashion sense and his overall vibe isn't enough to convince you that Jordan's a paedophile, just remember, as I pointed out earlier, he's a massive WWE fan.
So that was the number 6 battle this week from Manchester, Jordan Ducharme versus Danny Davies. As I mentioned, Jordan's 3rd appearance on the podcast. One thing I love about this week's episode, just looking at it on paper, because I haven't seen the battles, we opened by talking about the All-Stars, the people that we've been seeing all season. From this point on, with one exception, these last 5 battles, these are all people who have never been on the podcast before. These are all brand new people. You're going to be exposed to some new people today. I, for one, am excited to see it. And it's going to continue right now with 2 people who I believe this was their first roast battle ever.
Whoa.
And I haven't watched, but it was so good that it ended in a tie. One of those, because there's 2 types of ties. You've been around long enough. There's the double loss tie, where it's like you just wasted our time. Sometimes we will vote for an inanimate object in the room. If a fan had a particularly funny heckle, I've seen you give the win to the fan. We've all seen that. And then there's the good tie, where it's like you were both great and we can't decide.
Yeah.
That's
it ends in a draw.
More rare, but this is a draw right here. And it is a first-time battle from Denver. It is Gabby Gutierrez Reed versus Michael Isaacs. Here it is.
Michael, you look like a divorced dad trying to get back out there.
Maybe.
This isn't Michael. Elijah Wood just ate one of those Mario mushrooms. It's me, Elijah Wood.
So if you don't know, Gabby and I are partners, you want me to say? I'm from the South, Gabby's from California. She's taught me all these new progressive words. She wants me to call her partner because she doesn't like the ring of little Mexican sidekick.
Dating. We did try doing that open relationship thing for a little bit. I just found myself dating women that looked like Michael. And Michael didn't date anyone. But he does have a type, and that's a bisexual bisexual Mexicans that could be in the cast of Daria.
Yeah, like I said, you taught me a lot. You taught me the term Latinx, which is apparently not a cleaning product. It's actually a toilet cleaner.
Thank you, guy who has a glory hole waiting for him after this.
Don't tell anybody about that.
Michael, you look like Krusty the Clown fucked that robber from Home Alone. Don't slip, there's picks on the ground. Damn it.
Sex is great with Gabby. She gives great forehead. She's a little thin. But when she titty fucks me, it's ribbed for my pleasure. Sternum and ribbed.
Michael is into short women because it's easier for them to rub his belly when his tummy hurts.
It's true. Gabby's 5'2", I'm 6'2", which is perfect because she has a foot fetish. She gets off with the distance between us.
Michael, you look like you say, "Am I funny?" during sex.
Don't tell anybody that. Gabriella Josefina Gutierrez Reed. Oh! A lot of people would say that's a mouthful, but look at that thing. Look at that. Before she was a vegetarian, she used to eat eggs whole like a snake. Sometimes when I'm bad, I wake up in the middle of the night, she's just up against my side, sizing me up. Sorry, I'm too big.
That's why Michael gets so scared every time I give him head.
All right, give it up for these two.
You went first in regulation. We've got Michael going first in overtime. Put some energy back in the room for
Like you heard, Gabby's last name is Gutierrez Reed, and I told her if we ever get pregnant, my son is not having no triple hyphenated last name bullshit, okay? If we get pregnant, my son is getting aborted. And you can put whatever name you want on the grave.
We'll put Michael Isaacs on that. Michael claims to spell out the entire alphabet when he eats out women, which would be awesome if he ate out women!
So there it was, number 5 from Denver as they continue their climb up the American West ladder, trying to take down the Giants here in California, and of course the host of the All-Star Game, Austin, Texas. Let's get into the number 4 battle. Now we can actually watch some stuff here in the studio. Excited to break it down. I said it was going to be mostly new people with one exception, a guy we've seen a bunch before. Talking about Evan Warner.
Hey.
Evan Warner, LA battler. You've seen him representing LA, down here, of course. He went up to the Bay Area. Now, the Bay Area has gotten a lot of mileage out of these battles. We sent 7 LA people up there, and not going to lie, LA has 2. They're picking up half the points. This is the last one of that run. After today, the 30 days has passed. They can no longer submit these. So this is the final one of the run. They got 4 good ones out of it. This is the latest. It is from the Sacramento Punchline. It is Evan Warner representing LA going up against Emily Rudolph from the Bay. Here it is.
Oh yeah, people give it up for Strawberry Short Bus. Hey, for any of you guys that wanted to fuck cartoon characters when you were little, meet Kim Probable.
Evan, you look like your astrological sign is QAnon. So, Evan is allergic to mangoes, and women are allergic to him.
Emily actually, I just thought you'd do a punchline. Emily actually has a lot of panic attacks, and I'd have panic attacks too if I was 30 and still identified as pansexual. Yeah, I know you're the pan, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of eggs left to cook.
Oh, the crowd doesn't like him. That was funny.
Doesn't Evan look like he goes to Gamescape to pick up women? Evan likes to say he looks like Hugh Jackman's weakest sperm.
Sure.
Yeah. I disagree though. I think he looks like Wolverine and Steve Buscemi abandoned a baby in a board game store.
That's weird. You got a bigger joke with the one I wrote. That's crazy. Anyway. Doesn't she look like Miss Frizzle if the bus was going into a trans girl's pussy?
Fuck, dude. Jesus Christ.
We're about to the Bay Area with this one.
Evan has the energy of a guy who hangs out in cat cafes.
Yeah.
Alone. Don't get me wrong. He does beat the pussy up, but by that, I mean abusing cats.
You guys know, whoa, shit. Oh, you got some. You guys know Emily used to be a go-go dancer. I wonder where her tits went.
It's great that you look like you collect roadkill, since killing on the road is something you'll never do as a comedian. Evan always dresses like he just stepped out of an episode of Scary Potter and the 45 Magnum in a high school reunion. He actually was voted most likely to be a school shooter in high school. He was the only one who voted.
It was a warning.
Number 4 battle this week. I caught a couple interesting things in there. Evan Warner, Emily Rudolph. Emily picked up the win, representing the Bay Area. Thought it started a little bit slow and awkward at times and got really, really strong at the end. What'd you think?
I'd agree. I thought, Evan is the bitch getter. So I assumed that he was going to go up there and do his thing. Emily had some really combo jokes, right? She really stacked things on, not like a hat on a hat per se, but like really layered jokes to just like when you drive home, you're like, oh, that was good. Mm-hmm. She got him with that one.
Yeah.
Not just the surface one that you can see and visualize, but like ones when you're driving home, you're like, that was a well layered joke. She had like 1 or 2 of those in there. Evan went there with the classic stuff. Going to the Bay Area, kind of a sanctuary for the LGBTQIA plus community. To say all those things, I thought was ballsy and brave, and I shouldn't say ballsy. I'm talking about this community.
It is a little bit easier in Sacramento than San Francisco.
Great point.
If he did those at Cobb's, I don't think he would have gotten anything.
It was tough to get it there.
Yeah, but he earned it on the trans girl magic school bus.
Woo!
To do the one right before that and get the reaction he got where we were both like, uh-oh, that was a miscalculation. And then to double down on it in the next joke and get a big laugh just speaks to how funny the joke was.
That is good, though. It's almost like a weird strategy I don't think people really lean into, which is you say the thing that they're kind of like, oh, pansec, or like whatever, boring, whatever surface level joke, and they're like, here's this.
Yeah.
It's almost like that LeBron gif was just like, oh, okay, I got 2 more for you.
Yeah. And the thing that bums me out about the pansexual joke not working is like the crowd, I think, immediately got weird because they're like, oh, this is going to be like, I don't even know what phobic that would be. Pansexual phobic.
I mean, she said it perfectly. Like, he does look like a guy who, he's got cafe energy guy.
Yeah.
But he's like, but I'm an alpha.
But the thing about that joke was it wasn't making fun of her for being pansexual. It turned out to be a "you're old" joke. It was the eggs in the pan. She's 30.
Ageism joke, yeah.
But he kind of lost them on the setup to where they were like, "Oh, we think this joke is about X," and then when it was about Y, I don't even think they got it. They were like, "We're still on that time." One thing that she did that was really effective when I started roast battling. I think everybody comes at it with like the mindset of back in the day, it was like the Comedy Central roasts, right? So everybody was trying to write that way. And I was one of the first people to be a little bit more competitive and aggressive with it. And
battle rap style.
Yeah. A little bit of the battle rap style. And I would have jokes that would almost predict me winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would have jokes where it's like, so-and-so's about to lose the battle, and I would tie it into like whatever, and nobody else was really doing that. And she did it very subtly when she did the roadkill thing. He'll never kill on the road, which is like a good, like, just you're a bad comic joke. But to be going against an LA guy in your hometown and to call out the fact that he'll never kill on the road applies to that battle as well. That was her being like, you didn't get the job done tonight, because it was her closer. You know what I mean?
It's foreshadowing,
Yeah. So I thought that was really
You're currently
really
on
smart.
the road.
Yeah.
And you're losing, and I'm going to beat you, and then she beats him.
Exactly. That joke can get awkward if you're not clearly winning. If Evan's killing you, then that joke is going to backfire. But I thought it was really effective, and I thought that was one of the reasons why it hit so hard. Either way, great battle, a lot of fun. Evan's always fun, man.
Always fun. He's a great competitor.
Yeah.
But Emily, she's one to watch. That was fun. She's got a hell of a writing style.
Absolutely. First time seeing Emily Rudolph, I believe, and was really impressed. Let's keep it moving right now with the number 3 battle this week. This is from Chicago. They picked up number 1 last week. They come back at number 3 this week. Of course, they are locked in a really tight battle with New York. And they have another great one this time. Now, this features somebody that we saw one time last season. She battled one time, had the number 1 battle. That was her only battle of the entire season. And, she's back. This is her first appearance, first battle this year, going up against a guy that I have never even heard of before. When I saw this name, because I know the names, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And I've been told that he is one to watch out for.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see this. This is the return of Queenie Bitch going up against Mark McPartland. Here it is.
Mark looks like he's only straight because coming out seemed like a bummer.
True. Seemed like a lot of work. First of all, I just want to say this was not fair scheduling this during Pride. This is like battling a werewolf during a full moon. This is not fair at all.
That's good.
I do want to say though, happy Pride and happy Juneteenth probably. Maybe.
Was that it?
That is it.
Okay. Mark looks like I couldn't tell. Mark looks like he's in witness protection from cyberbullying.
Queenie looks like Jesus if he turned water into KY jelly.
I'd also be more ethnically accurate.
Yeah, truly. That is a joke. Jesus only got nailed by Italian men once. That's not.
It's a real joke. It's a great time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mark quit drinking because he was, and I quote, sucking too much dick. And I want to be clear, I'm not putting words in his mouth. He said it, okay? Because as I just established, that's not what he wants me to put in his mouth.
That is true. This is the cyberbullying I was talking about. No, I'm not a bad person at all. I'm actually raising money to get bottom surgery for Queenie. Hopefully by the end of this month, I'll have enough money to get this bottom lobotomized. I think we can. I'm just saying, we do need a blood donor. So if anyone here is HIV positive, that would be nice.
Shout out to Boom Shop.
Okay, you Ted Bundy lookalike.
They're not allowed to donate blood. It's tough to get them in the system.
Mark looks like he gave a girl a ride home once and she was never seen again.
She's in the basement if you want to see her. I don't know. She's there. Queenie looks like if Michael Jackson tried to transition back to being black. It's like,
that's a good joke.
Annie is not okay. There was a bulge in those Billie jeans, if you know what I
Nate.
Honestly, this is how he would look. Mark tried to catch herpes once, but herpes said no.
Herpes these days, tough to, let's see. You might recognize Queenie as a contestant on RuPaul's Ambiguous Race. No, but Queenie is half black, so you don't have to worry about her competing in women's swimming because she'll drown.
My mom was white. She taught me how to swim.
Damn right.
I grew up in the suburbs. I obviously know how to swim.
You know what? We're not so different, you and I. They put us apart, but really we should be.
Instead of Pornhub, Mark just Googles women sleeping. He likes snoring videos because then he knows it's real.
Yeah. I need someone to fall asleep with me, all right? I'm lonely, all right? Don't say all.
Now they feel bad for it.
I know. No, Queenie goes by Queen, but Queenie looks more like what would have happened if Meghan Markle had been in Princess Diana's car. Too soon for the Princess Diana jokes? Okay. Is 25 years not enough time?
Last joke. You look like Charles Manson without the charisma. Mark's scared to move out of his apartment because that's where all of his exes are buried.
That's true. Queenie is what crawls out of your TV if you watch Euphoria after midnight.
Mark!
Give it up for them, everybody.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Impressive RBL Weekly debut. I believe roast battle debut in general for Mark McPartland. What do you think of that?
That was his first?
I believe so. He definitely didn't have any RBL battles, before we started keeping stats or whatever. I've never heard of the guy. That was unbelievable.
Man, what a debut. That's a 5-tool player in roast battle. I mean, he was doing wordplay, pun stuff. Look out, Nate Welch. That guy, the way he does his puns
The
is
Michael
almost
Jackson
like
shit.
an aside every time. I mean, the look like jokes, the surface level stuff, the below the surface stuff. I mean, he flipped things on Queenie, like she would say something and he'd be like, and it would just roll off his back and he'd just take the power back from her after like a great joke she would have. And man, I feel like if that was anybody else, Queenie would have had that, but he put her in a corner. And a lot of battlers who like take too much pride in it sometimes do this thing where they're like, I don't do that. That's not me. Or they take it too seriously. At one point, everybody's like, they got you.
You mean when your opponent makes a joke about a thing and you get defensive? Like, no, that's not accurate.
And Evan did it last battle too. And he's just like, I wrote that joke for you. Like, nobody cares.
Fact checking never, ever, ever, ever works.
Don't ever fact check. But that was a hell of a debut. Mark Parkland shooter, man. He's good.
He was, man. Unbelievable. First of all, shout out to Queenie for taking time away from hard fouling Caitlin Clark to come do a roast battle. Leave that poor girl alone. She's making more money for the fucking league than any of you guys ever did. No, Queenie we saw last year, and she murdered because she has this naturally, her name is Bitch. You know what I mean? Like she has this natural, like kind of bully energy that when, she was winning was like really, powerful. And I thought that he kind of
very bitchy, very cunty. Yeah,
he controlled he had the crowd by joke 3. He was completely controlling them by virtue of like the great writing and everything like that. Likeable kind of like personality, rebuttals off the top, everything you said. 5-tool player. He was doing it all. That was that was
and
one of the more
great jokes. I mean, there was like 2 or 3 there. I'm like, oh, dude, that was just like a cross to the face.
Yeah,
and he just ate it.
Yeah.
And then just flipped it back on her. It was almost like, again, I'll say this again, that Drake Family Matters and then Kendrick dropping Meet the Grahams 30 minutes later. It just takes all the power away.
Yeah.
Of just like, isn't that a good joke? It's just like, yeah, but then Mark said the thing. It was funny, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, but I had bars. Like, yeah, but Mark.
Family Matters was really good, too.
Yeah, it was so
Nobody
good.
wants to talk about that.
Yeah, but Meet the Grahams is sinister.
Yeah, that shit's evil. But yeah, I mean, this battle was it was really impressive. I definitely want to see more of both of them.
Yes.
Both very, very funny and, hell of a debut. Congratulations, Mark. Great job, Queenie. And 5 more points for Chicago as they continue to fight it out.
Happy Pride Month and probably happy Juneteenth, too. It
Oh,
was
my God.
One of my favorite things I've ever heard.
And then, and he flipped it later in the battle with the misdirect on the swimming. Like winning, trans championships and
that's where I was like, Queenie didn't have to do that about my mom's white. I know how to swim. It's just like you should have just there's a different way to flip that.
The fact checking never ever it just does not work. That's a trend that I'm kind of sick of in general, where you try to you don't have anything funny to say, but you feel like you have to address what the other person just said. And it can work. Mark did it in that battle when she was like, the girl went missing and was never seen again. He's like, she's in my basement if you want to see her.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, dude. It was like,
when you could pull it off, it's really good. I just see a lot of people flop trying to pull that off. They're like, well, here's a self-deprecating rebuttal. And everybody just kind of does
as
nothing.
soon as you say, no, I don't do that, or oh, I already wrote that, it's like, but they just got a big laugh from it. Why would you take credit for it?
Yeah.
Because if it didn't, would you have taken credit for it?
Yeah. No, of course not. You wouldn't be like, hey, that shitty joke, I wrote that joke. That silence belongs to me. Great job, Chicago. Let's keep it moving right now with the number 2 battle of the week, and this comes to us from Austin. Now, I lied when I said it was just Evan Warner. I forgot that this battle features one of our favorites from the entire league, Mike Eaton, who had a really big year last year, battled a whole lot. This year has not been quite as active. I think this is only his 2nd battle of the season, but he is one of the big favorites out there. We've seen him battle at the Mothership a bunch of times. He's a monster, and he's going up against a guy who is having kind of a sneaky rookie season. We saw him at the Mothership last time. Spoiler alert on this battle, Captain Wright, who is Mike's opponent, takes away the win in this battle, moving him to 4-0.
Damn.
It's his first appearance on the RBL Weekly Countdown, but when we talked earlier about Jeff and Tabitha being the front runners for Rookie of the Year, watch out for this guy. He's got a unique kind of style, and he's really funny. At least the time I saw him at the Mothership. I assume it's the same kind of deal here because he won, and it's the number 2 battle of the week. I'm looking forward to watching it. Mike Eaton, Captain Wright from Austin. Here it is.
Hooray! Captain's grandmother is actually pretty progressive for an old lady. She didn't like that he transitioned, but she at least calls him Captain, so that's a plus. What are you talking about? Fuck you! Alright. It's their month. Alright.
Mike looks like 2 fat kids in a trench coat trying to sneak into a movie. And he's trans.
Thank you, Joe Squirt. Captain had cancer. That's true. He had leukemia. Very funny. It's crazy. He used his Make-A-Wish just to be allowed to say the N-word. Show him. If you don't say it, the cancer wins.
I'll do it for cancer. Mike's name is Mike Eaton. What's his middle name? Can't Stop? Yeah, more like Mike Feaston. Am I right, guys? What the heck?
It's the same dance he does when he comes, man. Hit that pussy, hit a gritty, dude. Good job. The only thing for Captain worse than finding out that he had cancer was finding out that chocolate milk doesn't come from brown cows. I was upset too. Devastated.
What do you mean you need a kid to tour the chocolate factory? That's my impression of Mike Eaton at Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Getting denied at the front door.
I just brought two. They're candy. They're kids. It's taking candy from a baby. Theo yawn, everybody. So, Captain's gay. A lot of parents, when they're pregnant, they will listen to classical music to make the baby smarter. Captain's mom just listened to Rebecca Black's Friday.
Mike looks like the Michelin Man if you just got out of rehab. Or maybe hipster Jabba the Hutt.
I rock Captain was named after what his father had to drink to get the courage to fuck his mom.
There we go.
Captain Morgan, you should meet his brother. Black guys come.
Mike used to be a motivational speaker. Hey Mike, last time I checked, the drive-through speaker wasn't too motivational.
Okay, guys, give it up for Mikey and Captain Ryan. That was fun.
Okay. A different vibe from the Chicago battle. The Austin ones are like, it's funny because they send it, and I watch it every week except for this week, and like usually they include like 3 minutes before the battle that we cut out on here, and it almost always includes one of them getting into a fight with an audience member and then them teaming up on the audience member, or they're going back and forth with the judges, and it feels like Chicago feels more like competitive, whereas Austin feels like, hey, we're like fucking around and it's like us versus the world kind of thing. A lot of good sort of camaraderie in Austin, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's good camaraderie, but it's for weird reasons. It's because they're the outlaws, right? They're the rejects from all these other like big comedy places, and they all went there because it's the Rogue and the Kill Tony, the Your Mom's House, all that stuff is down there. So all these guys are like, you know what? Forget LA, forget New York, forget Chicago, forget all these other places. We're going to Austin to be able to say what we want and do what we want. And that's what they do down there. I mean, I feel like some of their jabs, some of just like their, just getting into a joke is like, this guy's gay. Or this guy's a retard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's those buzzwords they get into to kind of get the crowd on their side, right? And that's where that party vibe comes from. It's like, oh, it's getting dangerous in here.
That's why I think Mike was so perplexed when his first joke didn't work. Now, I think it didn't work because he put the punchline early in the joke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where the point of the joke, I guess, was to call him trans, but he did it in a way where the end was like, well, his grandmother still calls him Captain. I didn't understand what he was even going for.
Right.
But then, like, in his mind, he was probably, because I've written jokes out of order before, too, where it makes sense to me, and then I run it by somebody else, and they're like, oh, you should flip that. And I'm like, oh, really? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I think in his mind, he's like, I'm going to open with a trans joke. That's kind of a layup in Austin. And it just got lost, and you could see him panic and be like, he's like, maybe I have to say the more disparaging version of it, like, like hit the panic button, and it's like, was I not like enough?
I mean, I do love that they're breaking glass in case of emergency is like a slur. Huh? Yeah. Is it funny now? It's like any slur, they're just going right. It's very funny, those guys. But there was a lot of fun, like low-key good jokes in there, especially with Mike. Mike he falls into great jokes and great writing, I feel like, with him. Yeah. Captain is a sneaky, funny dude, man. He's got, he's like if Casey Rocket took Roast Battle seriously.
Interesting. Do you think there's going to be a pipeline of people trying to be Casey Rocket now in Austin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it works, people are always going to bite it. It's the biggest form of flattery.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a Kill Tony thing now, where it's like every like new person they have who's like, this is a unique thing that nobody's doing. 6 months from now, there's going to be like, there's 40 people doing that.
I was going to say, it's like 40 white guys acting like Cam Patterson.
Yeah.
It's already Tony Wellens and the other white Cam already acting like Cam, so it's going to be just more of those guys.
Yeah. But Captain is he's a very funny writer. I honestly, like, I probably would have edged that battle to Mike. I thought Mike started slow, but I thought he kind of hit hard in the end.
He showed more.
Yeah.
He just showed that he could call an audible. He can go off the cuff. He had some good writing in there. He complimented his opponent on things. He set his opponent up for certain things. I just thought as a roast battler overall, I thought Mike just kind of controlled that fight.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like, that's why the wins and losses we tend to not focus on as much, because the best roast battlers have a whole bunch of losses because they are big targets and
I
everything
mean, look
like
at
that.
Keith Carey.
Yeah, for sure.
Two-time Battler of the Year, probably has like a losing record in this thing.
Yeah,
but
Keith,
I mean, he is
Page,
the best.
Yeah, all the people who are the easiest targets have the best battles. So
Right.
great to see Mike Eaton back. Hope to see more of him this season. And I want to see if Captain can continue his little sneaky Rookie of the Year run.
Streak.
We're going to find out coming up. But now let's go to the number one battle of the week. We talked about how Chicago is locked in a war with New York. Chicago picks up 5 points. Not enough. Not enough, because the number one battle comes to us from New York. They have been having an incredible season, and this features two guys that are making their RBL debuts but come from very different battling backgrounds. Brian Rabideau is a guy that I don't know. I haven't heard his name before. Chris Crespo is an interesting name for anyone who was an old school fan of Roastmasters in New York. This guy went on a whole run to get a title shot and battled Eli Sayers for the title. Did a lot of battles back in the day and then got away from it. We haven't seen him in a long time. This is his official return to battling, his RBL debut. For both of them, their first appearance on the podcast. It's Chris Crespo versus Brian Rabideau. It's the number one battle this week. Rabideau, I believe. Number one battle this week. Crespo, Rabideau, New York. Here it is.
All right. So Chris is a New York Jets fan because he loves a football team that can catch as well as he can.
I know what you're thinking. Look at this disgusting freak next to the guy with no arms.
That's what
Last year, Jets QB Aaron Rodgers stayed in for only 4 minutes of the game, which is twice the amount of time Chris's dad stayed after his birth.
Brian's mom works with disabled people, in case you're wondering how I jerk off.
Might be joking to you.
That's so good. Well, this battle's over.
Oh, fuck you. Chris loves Godzilla, a monster who makes Asian women scream, in the same way Chris does when he enters a massage parlor.
Brian's a raging alcoholic. One time he got so hammered he had sex with a little person. That boy's parents were pissed.
Chris loved Killers of the Flower Moon, a movie that was 3.5 hours, which is also how long it takes Chris to tie his shoes.
Brian remembers 9/11 because those were the ages of the boys he molested.
Last joke. All right. Last week, Chris told me that someone had robbed him. Chris, does that someone go by the name God?
Being gay isn't a choice, and neither is having sex with Brian.
So that was the number one battle this week from New York, Chris Crespo versus Brian Rabideau. Yeah, Crespo is back. Before we get into the good, because there's a lot of good, Ajota, your boys are reading jokes directly off of a notepad. They're not glancing at it for reference. You called out the whole West for reading jokes off of the phone. Evan Warner wasn't reading off of a phone. Emily Rudolph wasn't reading off of a phone. Mike Eaton wasn't reading off of a phone. Captain Wright wasn't reading off of a phone. And then we get to fucking New York, and the guy's doing a book report. Get your boys in line. All right, that's it.
I don't mind a writing tablet. That feels more like classic, roast culture.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
It's just him calling the phone now. Yeah, the phone is a little weird. The electronic device is weird, but having like something weird like a writing tablet feels classic.
I don't mind at all. Joda loves to talk trash, and I feel the need to call it out when I see a little bit of hypocrisy. You can't be the face of New York and be like, oh, we don't read our fucking joke. Yes, you do. That's all.
Damn.
I don't mind that you do, but if you're gonna dish it out, we gotta give it back. That's
John
all.
Joda, the face of New York. Dan Wicks.
I mean, a Joda represented them in the playoffs.
Say something. Do something.
Yeah. One of the faces of New York. Don't turn this into an East Coast, West Coast thing.
I'm always trying to do that.
Yeah, of course. The battle itself, to me, thought the battle was good. And it was almost a consensus number one. I think there were 6 votes for this and 1 for Chicago.
Oh, that makes sense.
I probably would have leaned Chicago in this case. I thought Chicago was more consistent, but man, New York had 2 jokes that just absolutely fucking blew the roof off, and they were placed perfectly. You had one towards the front, which kind of carried it through the middle, and then you had one at the end, which really brought it home. Robbed by God, of course, and his mom works with special, and in case you're wondering how I jerked off, both of those are A+ jokes.
I mean, in classic New York style, I mean, just going so hard and just so dark.
Yeah.
Obviously robbed by God at the end, and then Brian's mom works with disabled people. In case you're wondering how I jerk off, oh man, short, succinct, the economy of words, it's visual. It's like I can listen to that on radio and be like, oh man, I gotta see what this guy looks like.
I like to think that Crespo was just retired, living his life, no more battles. And then he got a request, do you want to battle this guy? And he said, no, why would I do that? And he's like, his mom works with special needs people. And he was like, I've been waiting a decade to do this joke. I'd like to think he came out of retirement just for the circumstances.
It felt like he did that because every other joke he had, except maybe for like the last one he did, they all felt pretty standard of just like, he's just kind of getting back in the groove.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it felt like classic Crespo, just classic, like, oh, we're just doing roast jokes here, right?
You're battling a white guy. He's a pedophile.
He's real surface level shit, but then it was, 9/11's pretty good, and then that disabled joke is really good. And then Brian really came with it with that robbed by God at the end.
And I also, like, the crowd, I think, was clearly, it was Crespo's room. But like the New York Jets, that 1-2 punch with like they can catch ball. He wants to play. He roots for players to catch balls as well as he can. Like I love a good sports joke. They're not for everybody, and that's always the problem. Is that in a comedy room, especially with a bunch of other comedians there, you know how comedians are. 20% of them are normal people who watch sports, and the other 80% are geeks, the freaks, the losers, the rejects of society. You're not cool like us, but. You know, that's the risk you run with a sports show.
I mean, sports is like, straight man's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
it is
sure.
our D&D.
Yeah.
Shout out the geeks. We get it. You guys know numbers. You guys know finance. You guys are ruling the world right now. But I just got to be honest. It was better when jocks ran it.
I completely agree, man. Bring back those days.
Bring back the jocks.
Bring them back.
Bring back Jim Crow. Go ahead.
Okay. So I lost my train of thought. So he did that. But then he had the follow-up with the Aaron Rodgers 4 minutes versus that's how long his dad stuck around after he was born. I thought that was really good. I liked the Jets 1-2 punch. I thought Brian had some shit, but like Crespo was just controlling the environment. I think the crowd was excited to see him back. And once he hit that haymaker, they were just I was going to say eating out of the palm of his hand, and I just caught myself. He was in control of the room.
Crespo and Niemiller. Have you ever seen Ryan Niemiller? They have the same, I think, deformity. God, I feel like that's bad to say.
No, I think that's technical.
Birth defect. But they have the same sort of situation. Niemiller's claim to fame is Last Comic Standing or America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Crespo obviously is a roast battle and just a hell of a comic. But I think those two going head to head because they have the same thing. I would love to see what those jokes or how deep those jokes can go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Niemiller did a couple battles out here.
He's a monster
and was really funny. He's just too busy to do more.
He's a hell of a comic. I mean, when I first started, that guy was just like demolishing rooms before he got his TV break on, I think AGT or Last Comic Standing.
Yeah. And for me, just very excited to see Crespo back. Like, we've talked about it before, but for a lot of our audience who came up in the online sort of era, they knew Roastmasters in New York more than Roast Battle because we weren't putting our shit online. So like, there's a lot more. I get more questions about like those that era of people more than anything else. And other than a couple like JP McDade has always remained pretty active, and I feel like Dan Wicks. But there are a lot that kind of like faded away from it. The Scott Chaplins of the world, the Evan Williams of the world, and they're doing other things now. So it's really nice when one of those names pops back up and you're like, oh shit, I remember Chris Crespo.
Chris Crespo. So I was like, I know this name. Welcome back, my man. But yeah. The Eli Sayers, he is, he's just kind of hitchhiking somewhere and just out there in the middle of nowhere, rose battling a cactus or something.
I hope so. And he's winning that battle, I guarantee you. There's not a cactus on this planet that could fuck with Eli Sayers. All right, let's check out the standings, and we'll start in the American division. And the thing that, there's two things that jump out at me here, but number one is New York has now overtaken LA for the number one overall seed, which gives home field advantage during a potential championship. They get to go second, which, as we know, is or choose if they want to go second, which can be a really big advantage. Hell of a season for New York on top of the entire league at this point.
Yeah, I don't like that. I didn't see this coming, actually, them overtaking Los Angeles. I thought we had a pretty comfortable cushion in front of everybody, but this is major for us to lose the toss-up to defer to New York. That's gonna suck in the championship.
Still a lot of season left, there's no guarantee even that it'll be New York. I mean, Chicago is just like, this is why we need... I need somebody to give us like $1 million so we could do this thing the right way. Because if we had the budget that I want to have, you need a wild card team in there too.
You do.
It is really unfortunate, and we're about to look at the international standings in a moment, but we are now at a point where the fourth place team in the American West would be tied for the lead in the international East. And this happens in all sports, right? It does happen, and you'll have a better record than another team that makes the playoffs ahead of you. That shit happens, but like the season Chicago and the Bay Area in particular are having is like, man, they deserve to be in that thing. So if any of you guys have an extra $1 million laying around, hit me up. We'll make it happen, and then we'll get at least one or two wild card teams in there because those guys are having great seasons and deserve to be there.
Listen, Elon Musk, I know you have billions and you love to take advantage of black people. I'm a black person. Come take advantage of me.
Yeah.
Pause, but you know what I mean.
What'd he say? Also, I love that you had to clarify Musk. You're like, Elon. And then you're like, wait, let me be really clear here in case it's another Elon that they're confusing this with. But New York on top of the entire league. Let's go over to the international division. This was another pretty U.S.-heavy episode. I feel like we've had a lot of those recently. The international is sort of grinding to a little bit of a halt in the West. None of those cities made it. I believe you could see a couple of them. I want to say Scotland and Toronto are available right now on the Patreon for our 8 through 10 battles. But no movement in the International West this week. In the East, Australia, of course, picking up 1 point at the bottom, and Manchester padding their lead slightly over Tokyo. But again, Austin, Manchester, 37 points each. One is in first, one is in last.
That's nuts. That hurts, actually. Manchester, congratulations, by the way, on a hell of an inaugural season. London, wow. Montreal, every week you make me look worse and worse. It really it hurts my heart.
I think there's an argument to be made, and I don't want to end this on a negative note, but as much as everybody's kind of clowning on Atlanta and Montreal, expansion cities, for having 1 and 3 points respectively, and then Australia catches some deserved strays sometimes, I think you could make an argument that based on expectations, London might be the biggest disappointment in the league to this point.
Yeah, you guys had last year's MVP, but this going to this bi-month or bi-weekly thing is weird.
They're running more shows now, but they're not at the Bill Murray. And the ones that I've seen, it's just like, it's tough to replicate that energy. Sometimes we leave the belly room and we do other things and we go other places. We've tried other like little venues for one-offs, and it's tough to recreate that and to build a scene at this new venue. I don't know if they have like a crowd yet, but they do have coming up this month their yearly knockout tournament at the Bill Murray, where they take 12 of the best people. I've seen Shalaka posting about it, so I assume she is going to be involved. Last season, she had 16 battles. This year at the halfway point, she has 2.
Right.
And one of them was in Tokyo. You know what I mean? So if she really gets involved and the knockout tournament goes really well and, they get some good battles out of that, they're not that far behind. They could turn this thing around in a hurry. But to this point, I got to be honest. I would say they're probably the biggest disappointment in the league at this point, based on expectations.
They haven't had a tournament though, and we do know that a tournament turns everything around.
It can turn everything around.
I mean, look at Chicago. I mean, that's what got them out early. Obviously, I think Scotland just had one.
No, Scotland's got Edinburgh coming up.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be doing that. They'll be picking up points, I'm sure. There. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice I give these cities is have a tournament. The other thing I would say at this point, since we changed the point structure this year, and now you can go on the road and get some bonus points for your city, I would do that. If I'm Chicago, I'm getting in the ears of all my best battlers and being like, "Yo, let's get you on a Greyhound to Cleveland. Let's get you up to Toronto if we have to.
Go down to Atlanta.
Yeah. Go down to Atlanta.
Because none of that hurts you, actually, if you go to Atlanta. Get them some points, get yourself some points.
Exactly. That's the thing. The only one that would hurt you is New York.
Right.
You can't you can't work with your rivals at this point, but any other city, get them out there. Get some points on the board. That and tournaments are the biggest ways to grab some points this year.
Cheat codes.
Exactly.
Buy the commish.
Exactly. You got a whole second half, guys. We're turning it over to you. It's up to you if you want to win this thing or not. If you don't win, it's 100% for a lack of effort and caring. That is it for week 17 of the season. It's the halfway point. The All-Star game is coming up. I'm excited about everything we have going on. Thank you to everybody on the ranking committee for picking up the slack for me this week, watching the battles, including Mark Coulter from our Patreon. We'll be back next week with more RBL Weekly. Until then, you got anything else?
Let's roast!